He never imagined life could collapse so quietly, yet shatter so completely. Just a few months ago, he was a man with everything. A stable job, a small, happy family, and dreams that felt close enough to touch. But then came the storm, silent at first, then roaring with a force he couldn't comprehend. The company he served loyally for years shut down overnight, and he found himself standing outside the building with a cardboard box, not knowing where to go or what to do. The shock didn't end there. Pressure, arguments, and financial stress slowly eroded the peace at home. Days turned into battles, nights turned into tears, and before he understood what was happening, his family walked away, tired, angry, and broken. He tried to hold on, but grief swallowed his strength, and just like that, everything he loved slipped from his hands. He wasn't just jobless. He wasn't just alone. He was empty, drained of hope, faith, and purpose. People he once trusted disappeared. Friends who promised support vanished. And in the deafening silence of abandonment, he felt the terrifying weight of being truly alone for the first time in his life. A darkness he had never known began to grow inside him. A darkness he feared he would never escape. The days that followed were long, heavy, and merciless. He wandered through them with a heart full of unanswered questions and a mind full of fear. His home no longer echoed with laughter. It felt like a grave of memories. He tried searching for jobs, knocking on doors, sending countless applications, but every reply felt like a reminder of failure. His savings dried up, meals became smaller, nights became longer. Every time he looked in the mirror, he saw a man he no longer recognized, tired eyes, trembling hands, and a soul carrying invisible wounds. He began isolating himself from everyone, convinced the world didn't need him anymore. Depression wrapped around him like chains. There were nights he cried silently, hoping someone would hear, but no one came. There were mornings he didn't want to get out of bed because there was nothing left to wake up for. He stopped calling friends. He stopped going outside. He stopped praying because he felt even God had abandoned him. The darkness grew so deep that even hope seemed like a lie. Every step felt heavier than the last. Every breath felt borrowed. He wasn't living. He was surviving, barely holding on to the thin thread of existence. And in that crushing emptiness, he found himself whispering the most painful truth of his life. Maybe I'm not meant to rise again. One night, after another day of rejection, he sat alone in his cold room, staring at the ceiling with tears he didn't bother to wipe away. His phone was silent. No calls, no messages, no reminders that he mattered. The world had moved on without him. He felt like a burden, like a man whose story was over before it even began. He remembered the arguments with his family, the disappointment in his children's eyes, the bitterness in his partner's voice. He replayed every mistake, every failure, every moment that pushed him deeper into this pit. The weight of guilt crushed him until he could barely breathe. In that suffocating silence, something inside him broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, like a final crack in a weakened heart. He whispered, "God, where are you?" It wasn't a prayer. It was a cry, an exhausted cry from a man who had nothing left. And in that moment, when he expected nothing but more emptiness, something unexpected happened. A strange stillness filled the room, peaceful, warm, alive. Not loud, not visible, but undeniably real. It was as if someone stepped into the darkness with him. Someone who didn't walk away when everyone else did. Someone who stayed. Over the next few days, something began to change. Not quickly, not magically, but gently, like dawn pushing away the night. He woke up one morning and felt a small urge to pray again. Just a whisper, just a word. But it was enough for God to start healing what life had broken. He began reading scripture, not because he was strong, but because he was desperate. and each verse felt like a hand pulling him out of a drowning sea. He started walking outside again, breathing in air that no longer suffocated him. A stranger paid for his meal one day, smiling kindly, a moment he knew was no coincidence. A friend he thought he lost called unexpectedly, offering help without judgment. Slowly, doors he thought were shut forever began to open. He found small jobs first, then interviews, then a real opportunity. His family, seeing his transformation, reached out again, not with blame, but with hope for healing. He realized that when the world stepped away, God stepped closer. When everything broke, God used the pieces to rebuild him stronger. His faith returned, not the old faith, but a new, unshakable one. He learned that God doesn't always calm the storm. Sometimes God walks with you through it until you reach the other side. Months later, he stood outside his new workplace with tears in his eyes. Not tears of sorrow, but of gratitude. He wasn't the same man who once begged for hope. He was renewed, strengthened, transformed. He understood now why everything had fallen apart, because God was removing the temporary to give him the eternal. His family slowly healed, conversations softened, hearts opened. He forgave himself for the past and embraced the grace that carried him forward. Every morning he woke with purpose. Every night he slept with peace. He didn't fear losing anything anymore, because he now understood that everything he needed was found in God alone. What the world took from him, God replaced with something far greater: faith, identity, strength, and a love that never leaves. He once believed his story ended in darkness, but God wrote a new chapter, one filled with light, hope, and purpose. He learned the most powerful truth of life: when the world walks away, God walks in. When everything is gone, God becomes your everything. And that truth didn't just save him, it rebuilt him.